Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. Not for nothing, the great German thinker J.W. Goethe had said, I am what I am, so take me as I am, and similarly, Arthur S. had pronounced, no one can escape from their individuality. In this regard, it is profitable to quote a few lines from J.S. Mill, but society has now fairly got the better of individuality, and the danger which threatens human nature is not the excess but the deficiency of personal impulses and preferences. The emphasis on the unique being of an individual is the salt of his life. Denial of self-expression is inviting death. Irreplaceability of individuality and identity is grant of respect to self. This realization is one's signature and self-determined design. One defines oneself. That is the glorious form of individuality. In the present case, our deliberation and focus on the said concept shall be from various spectrums. Shakespeare, through one of his characters in a play, says, what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. The said phrase, in its basic sense, conveys that what really matters is the essential qualities of the substance and the fundamental characteristics of an entity, but not the name by which it or a person is called. Getting further deeper into the meaning, it is understood that the name may be a convenient concept of identification, but the essence behind the same is the core of identity. Without identity, the name only remains a denotative term. Therefore, the identity is pivotal to one's being. Life bestows honor on it, and freedom of living as a facet of life expresses genuine desire to have it. The said desire, one is inclined to think, is satisfied by the conception of constitutional recognition, and hence emphasis is laid on the identity of an individual which is conceived under the Constitution. And the sustenance of identity is the filament of life. It is equivalent to authoring one's own life script where freedom broadens every day. Identity is equivalent to divinity. The overarching ideals of individual autonomy and liberty, equality for all without discrimination of any kind, recognition of identity with dignity, and privacy of human beings constitute the cardinal four corners of our monumental constitution, forming the concrete substratum of our fundamental rights that has eluded certain sections of our society who are still living in the bondage of dogmatic norms. Social exclusion, identity seclusion, and isolation from the social mainstream are still the stark realities faced by individuals today, and it is only when each and every individual is liberated from the shackles of bondage and is able to work towards full development of his personality that we can call ourselves a truly free society. The first step on the long path to acceptance of the diversity and different colors that nature has created has to be taken now by vanquishing the enemies of prejudice and injustice and undoing the wrongs done so as to make way for a progressive and inclusive realization of social and economic rights embracing all, and to begin a dialogue for ensuring equal rights and opportunities for the less than equal sections of the society. We have to bid adieu to the perceptions, stereotypes, and prejudices deeply ingrained in the societal mindset so as to usher in inclusivity in all the spheres and empower all citizens alike without any kind of alienation and discrimination. The natural identity of an individual should be treated to be absolutely essential to his being. What nature gives is natural. That is called nature within. Thus, that part of the personality of a person has to be respected and not belittled or looked down upon. The said inherent nature and the associated natural impulses in that regard are to be accepted. Non-acceptance of it by any societal norm of notion and punishment by law on some obsolete idea and idealism affects the kernel of the identity of an individual. Destruction of individual identity would amount to crushing of intrinsic dignity that cumulatively encapsulates the values of privacy, choice, freedom of speech, and other expressions. It can be viewed from another angle. An individual in exercise of his choice may feel that he/she should be left alone, but no one, and we mean no one, should impose solitude on him/her. The eminence of identity has been clearly stated in National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India and others, popularly known as Nalsa case, wherein the court was dwelling upon the status of identity of the transgenders. Radhakrishnan J., after referring a number of judgments and certain international covenants, opined that gender identity is one of the most fundamental aspects of life which refers to a person's intrinsic sense of being male, female, or transgender or transsexual person. A person's sex is usually assigned at birth, but a relatively small group of persons may be born with bodies which incorporate both or certain aspects of both male and female physiology. The learned judge further observed that at times genital anatomy problems may arise in certain persons.